Hello, everybody. Thank you for clicking on. It is, hang on a second here. I'm going to adjust this. Wait, there we go. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for clicking on Doofus After Dark for a Wednesday. Sit rep coming up with Chris that will get underway here in about 25 to 27 minutes, somewhere around that. Um, and again, thank you for clicking on. Let me type that in here real quick. To do that. Okay. Got some things to talk about before Chris gets here. And once Chris gets here, um, we will be talking about Hamas is going to be the focus of part of the discussion Chris and I have tonight. And again, he comes on around 9 o'clock. Um, in the meantime, some other things we need to talk about. Hi, Guy. Thank you for clicking on here. Um, I'm going to start with this, and here we get it up here where you can see. This is a um, from the San Diego field office, a situational awareness bulletin. It's a ULES classification. Foreign fighters of Israel-Hamas conflict may potentially be encouraged or may be encountered at the southwest border. Again, this goes out to the San Diego field office, and there we go. Get it up here where you can see the symbols a little bit. This is the symbol of Hamas. This is the symbol of Islamic Jihad of Palestine, and this is the symbol of Hezbollah. And those symbols, um, again, this went out from the FBI to the San Diego field office, Department of Homeland Security and Border Patrol, um, San Diego field office intelligence unit, and again, foreign fighters motivated by ideology or mercenary soldiers of fortune may attempt to obfuscate travel to or from the U.S. to or from countries in the Middle East through Mexico. U means it's unclassified. If it was classified, I wouldn't be reading this. The first U means unclassified. LES is law enforcement sources. So this is basically what this is a situational report. It's a sit rep to the San Diego field office, and probably we can possibly anyway assume through other offices along the southern border. So for those that have questioned whether, if Chris and I knew anything at all, well, a little something just to start out with that, um, you know, we've got some information. Again, in case you're just joining us and you've never seen the program before, Chris is our military and counterterrorism expert with expertise also in policing and security. My background is varied. I've been in politics, I've been in government, been in the media, and a lot of different things, education and religion. And so we've got a lot of bases covered. And that's why I think our particular talk show podcast on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday is going to prove more and more important to people. And we thank all of you for watching. The U.S. has readied plans for a mass evacuation if the situation worsens and the conflict were to spread. Officials have said more than 600,000 Americans currently living in Israel and Lebanon are of particular concern. but they stress that an operation of such magnitude is a worst case scenario. Um, Again, you plan for everything, and the U.S. is readying plans for a mass evacuation. Trying to evacuate 600,000 people. Um, for those of you that have ever had anything to do with logistics, you know that that would be an absolute nightmare. And again, this one of the sources. This comes from the Washington Post. This is again not, it's out there if you know where to look. It's just not necessarily being talked about everywhere. Um, Biden has warned Iran not to attack American troops as Israeli-Hamas war continues. This came in 4 hours ago, courtesy USA Today, and it just shows the how things are ratcheting up, how things are constantly escalating in this situation. However, with that being said, we have not seen a ground incursion by Israel yet. We'll be talking about that, of course, coming up. But Biden warns Iran not to attack American troops, and American troops have already been attacked. We know about over 20 American soldiers have been injured, and this is through attacks from Iranian-sponsored groups. So we'll see what happens as time moves along. Also in the news today, we need to mention that Louisiana's Mike Johnson is now the Speaker of the House of Representatives. I did a live on that earlier. If for some reason you weren't able to catch the vote and all the pomp and circumstance surrounding it, I did a live from earlier today, and go back and check that out. But this is our America's new Speaker of the House. Photo here of Hakeem Jeffries passing the People's Gavel, very symbolic gavel. Jeffries passing the gavel to the new Republican Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. And again, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch the episode. And if you, the floor vote is not anywhere near the drama that the previous votes had, but the speeches by both Jeffries and Johnson were very good speeches. Both men know how to make speeches, and as I said in that episode, this is going to elevate Mike Johnson. Obviously, he's number 3 in line of secession now. Obviously, he's elevated, but it's going to elevate him. His speech today, in particular, is going to elevate him, and the buzz will be almost immediate for he'll be on the short list of VP candidates for many of those still in the presidential hunt as far as the Republican primary for president, as far as that process goes. And we'll see if what he said today holds true. Again, very good speech. And as I said in today's episode, I feel better about him being the speaker than I would have any of the other choices the Republicans were bringing up. Perhaps it's because I know the least about him. Many Israeli civilians have been fleeing as the frontline towns brace for more violence. This comes from CBS News 6 hours ago, and this is primarily on the around the Lebanon border, the northern border of Israel. So this would be an increase in violence in the second of 2 fronts Israel would be dealing with Hamas in Gaza, and with whatever happens with the West Bank. There's a lot of talk about what could happen with people coming across the Jordanian border. I think it's pretty well fortified, but again, we'll talk about that with Chris when he comes on at 9. But a sign, if you will, that perhaps Perhaps Israel has some intelligence about moves from Hezbollah. There's been lots of underground talk about Hezbollah invading from the north. Again, all of it, all of it allegedly goes back to Iran, but we'll talk more about that coming up. Now, I want to shift over to, or shift down, I should say, to South America. A couple of South American stories that won't get a lot of coverage, but could prove incredibly important as far as the alliance of BRICS, BRICS, and NATO, Western countries, whatever term we're going to end up using for the two sides in this Third World War. And it will be a matter of it will be a matter for historians as to when the Third World War actually started. I think it was the Russian invasion of Ukraine, that actually was the first tick of the Civil War, or of the Third World War, if you will. It probably won't officially be called a World War until a nuke is used, and until all three of the major countries, China, Russia, and the United States, are involved. At the moment, only Russia is actively involved. But the El Salvador's president, Berkeley, has warned of internal threats to the United States superpower status. Came in 22 hours ago. So, interesting. It's an interesting article. Also coming from South America, Machado's win confirmed in Venezuelan vote. Maduro calls a fraud. We've heard this before, the fraud word when it comes to elections, and this is Machado. And according to Bloomberg, Maria Cornelia Machado definitely won Venezuela's opposition primaries. A final bulletin from the organizational committee confirms, solidifying her leadership ahead of the 2024 presidential vote. All of this is going to be important. Who the leaders are in Central and South America, as the chess pieces, if you will, are moved into the two factions that are going to be warring on a major scale, unless something happens that totally changes our current path. But the current path we're on, we're heading to major conflict between two powers: BRICS, Brazil, South America; Russia, Eastern Europe; China, Indo-Pacific; India, Iran, probably more Iran than India, maybe, because China and India are having a major dispute at the border they share. But anyway, the I is definitely Iran if India gets out, but at the moment India is still in, and South Africa. So all of the continents, basically, with the exception of North America, are represented in this. And those countries represented have an incredible impact and influence over a lot of markets, including oil. So that's why I'm putting a little bit more focus in an episode about what's going on in South America. Venezuela is one of those countries that is a prime oil producer. Now, we shift back to the Middle East. That's where everyone's focus is going to be anytime Jerusalem and Israel are involved. Benjamin Netanyahu says that Israel is preparing for a ground invasion of Gaza. This was 4 hours ago. It comes in from Reuters, and it was an address to the nation. The United States is trying to dissuade Israel from doing such. They don't think Israel ought to do the ground invasion. They think Israel ought to learn from our mistakes in Iraq and use pinpoint strikes and special forces, and not an all out ground invasion. Netanyahu says again 4 hours ago, it came through the wires from Reuters, um, that indeed Israel is nonetheless prepared. It says preparing, but they've already been to the lines several times and told, bolstering the troops, because you can only keep people in a ready position at a ready location for so long. The longer they're there, the bigger targets they become, and the more drain on the morale. In my opinion, we'll talk about all of this with Chris when he comes on. Um, China has roughly doubled the number of missiles it could use to go after the U.S. bases in Japan. This is according to a new Pentagon report that came out yesterday, and this is from the Business Insider. Um, Another South American story: Nicaragua is allowing hundreds of flights from Haiti and Cuba, and this is in a push to use immigration against the United States, according to experts. And Nicaragua using migration against the U.S. by chartering hundreds of flights to ferry migrants from Haiti and Cuba. Um, why would Ortega's government do so? Well, they're trying to assist migrants attempting to reach the U.S. from the Caribbean islands and elsewhere. It does not require many travelers to have a visa. Nicaragua does not. And the government faces increasing sanctions from the U.S., and funneling migrants to the U.S. Mexico border is one of the few ways it can retaliate. So, human beings, uh, illegal immigrants, used as pawns, as weapons of retaliation from Nicaragua. Um, Again, just sharing something that you're probably not going to hear about on a lot of places, but nonetheless, tiny bit of information when it comes to all the immigration talk. Um, Israel, now this comes from Forbes, and again, this comes 4 hours ago. Israel's delaying their Gaza invasion so the United States can better prepare its troop defenses, a report says. Um, and I want to see, note who the report comes from. Okay, a report comes from the Wall Street Journal. All right. Israel has agreed to delay an expected ground invasion until at least later this week at the request of the U.S. so it can get more defenses in place to protect American troops. Um, Speaking of which, the world's largest aircraft carrier, the Gerald R. Ford, the world's largest warship, had been off the coast of Egypt Egypt, off the coast of Israel and Lebanon. It has been moved back up closer to Crete, back up closer to the area near Turkey, and is probably no longer in range of many of the potential Hezbollah and Hamas missiles. Um, With that being said, the aircraft carrier Dwight D. Eisenhower is steaming towards the Mediterranean and will join the Gerald R. Ford in Eastern Mediterranean. And they're about 3/4 of the way across the Atlantic. So there will be two carrier strike groups in position by the end of this week. And that's what the U.S. has asked for, to delay till the end of this week when that second carrier strike force is in place. Uh, Amphibious landing. We've got reports of amphibious landing craft moving in. All kinds of peace movements, as far as assets, if you will. If you're playing the game of Risk and you're moving your armies around and you're moving your various tanks and whatever. That's what's going on in real life right at the moment around the Middle East. We've got bases in Iraq. We've got bases in Syria. Um, we've got bases, obviously, in Japan. We were talking about that earlier. We got bases all around the world. So our footprint militarily is within all regions, and we can strike anywhere within a few minutes. However, if we get in a situation where we have to focus on too many places and they all require major assets, um, becomes a different game. And I think that's what the BRICS alliance is trying to draw us into. Um, Staying with Israel, Israel is losing support on the international level as fury grows over its strikes on Gaza. This is according to Bloomberg and came in 8 hours ago. Okay, the breaking news: UAW has reached a tentative deal with Ford, signaling an end to weeks-long strike. That's good news for the workers, especially coming into the winter. And with companies showing record profits, um, it's past time to share the wealth with the workers. And anybody that is familiar with my political campaigns, you know what that's about. But nonetheless, especially obviously the Islamic community has not been happy with Israel over Gaza, but many in the rest of the world again are beginning to see this as incredibly non-humanitarian, which that by definition is what war is. But the siege, the not letting only allowing very limited amounts of food, water across, and as it has for multiple times in conversations, it all comes down to fuel. It all comes down to oil. It all comes down to gas. And there is negotiations underway. There are negotiations underway between Israel, United States, Qatar, Hamas, and Egypt over trying to get a large number of hostages out in exchange for allowing fuel in. Israel has said it's a deal breaker. No fuel is going in, and that was the last I knew about that. Staying with the Middle East, China's Middle East warship flotilla compared to the U.S. carrier strike groups, because there will be two strike groups there. China is moving a warship flotilla. This is the Eisenhower, by the way. The picture here is of the Eisenhower as it's making its way across the Atlantic towards the Eastern Mediterranean. Both the U.S. and China are maintaining a presence in the Middle East after the eruption of violence. China has a long way to go before it can match reach of the U.S. military, as we discussed here just a few short minutes ago. The U.S. has heavily bolstered its presence in the region since October 7th, again, as we talked about a little bit ago. But China has warships on the way to the Middle East, and it won't have the same force that we will have there, but nonetheless, they will be something else that we have to pay attention to. One more thing here as far as elections. This time we're back in Africa, and Liberia presidential election is heading for a runoff. Liberia's Electoral Commission scheduled a presidential election runoff for November after results showed the two frontrunners, President George Weah and opposition leader Joseph Boakai, And we is maybe a little bit shady from what I've learned. Um, so we will keep an eye on that because there's a lot of things at play at the moment, and Africa is indeed one of, if not the most overlooked areas that is a potential that has the potential for eruption. Um, this also comes from Reuters 5 hours ago. Russia says it is rehearsed delivering a massive retaliatory nuclear strike. Um, Rehearsing a retaliatory nuclear strike is not a whole lot different than rehearsing a preemptive nuclear strike. Just something to think about. And again, Chris will be joining us here in just a couple of minutes. One of the things we're going to be talking about, CNBC was talking about 2 hours ago, where Hamas gets its money and why is it hard to stop Hamas, even as the United States is stepping up its efforts. And hold on, what happened here? Here we go. And I was told by one of my friends in OSNet to take a look at the Google map in traffic layer. And so that's what we're looking at the moment. You can see all the traffic up here in Italy, the traffic over here in Turkey through Greece. And as we zoom in, you'll see um, the traffic in Lebanon, the traffic in Jordan. And again, we zoom in, you can see all the traffic in Jordan. You'll see no traffic indicators of any kind in Israel. Um, so Google Maps has agreed not to display any data as far as transportation goes in Israel, and I found that incredibly interesting personally. And before I pop Chris up here, want to bring this back up one more time. A situational awareness from the San Diego field office, a ULES message: foreign fighters of Israel Hamas conflict may potentially be encountered at the southwest border. So there we go. Again, quite a bit to start out our show with, and now we bring Chris up. Chris, hello, good evening. Thanks for
Hey,
joining.
good evening, Barry. How are you?
I'm all right, man. You doing okay?
Yep.
All right. Okay. Um, okay. I'm sorry. 16 people in Maine shot. Active situation. Shooter still at large. Uh, just saw that in the chat. And yeah, unfortunately, guys, 16 people, not a big story anymore. It's kind of just the unusual story. That's what the U.S. is becoming, a shooting ground.
Yeah,
Uh,
pretty much. Pretty much.
Now, the thing that always catches my attention in a situation like this is the motivation of the shooter. Um, we've been talking about the potential for lone wolf activities of based upon um, religious doctrines,
Hmm.
and it'll be interesting. I mean, it's horrible. 16 people shot. At the same time, Guy Bassett's right. You know what True posts up, but it's sad. But in our country anymore, it's not a huge deal.
It's common, right?
Yeah,
We're totally desensitized to this type of violence. So to us, it's not really a big deal.
I know, and
Um,
that's just crazy.
so here's the thing: if this was a terrorist attack, the terrorist would end up normally killing himself or end up being killed by um, the people there. You see,
Hmm.
because the whole thing that we talked about this being a martyrdom operation, right?
Yeah.
So he's trying to become Shaheed. He's going to become a martyr. This is a martyrdom mission. You see, so him staying alive doesn't accomplish the mission.
Okay.
Him killing up as many people as possible, and then end up taking his life or his life being taken by someone else. That's how they normally end.
That's
It's
what we need to look for.
right, exactly. They're not
Yeah.
going to run away.
And will there be like a doctrine or a recorded pre-recorded statement before they?
Possibly, but that right there is we always talk about pre-event indicators before any attack. Okay, but before any attack ever occurs, there will always be pre-event indicators, and the biggest indicator is the behavior. You're always going to be looking for behavioral changes. Okay,
Okay.
before any attack. Like for instance, if someone um, one day has got a full hair head, he's got his hair is full of hair, right? And then next day he's completely bald and shaven. You know, maybe he had a beard and a mustache on, and now it's
Total transformation.
exactly. That's a behavioral change. Okay, something like that you need to be like aware of.
Okay.
But the thing is, normally like in these lone wolf attacks, they're not going to get caught. The only way they're really going to get caught is through behavioral changes, and that's going to be based upon uh, people being people being aware of how your neighbors have been, the baseline, what's the norm for them. Okay,
Right.
so
Right.
when they start changing out of that norm, start to pay attention.
Um, True reports that the shooter was a white male. AR-15 was the weapon. No motivation as of now.
Right. So
So
there's like for all we know, someone at work. Man, I don't know if it's a workplace. I really can't talk
yeah.
about
Right.
the particular. I
Yeah.
don't know.
We don't have any idea at the moment.
Right. So for all I know, he could be crazy.
Yeah.
There's a lot of mental. There's tons of mental illness out here. Right.
Um, yeah. The other night, I touched on the story of the airline pilot, the off-duty airline pilot that was in the jump seat
Right.
and tried to cut the fuel to the engines of the plane.
Right.
Um, Come to find out, he did magic mushrooms um, like 24 hours before boarding the flight,
Oh,
and that was his reasoning behind doing what he did.
so he was doing shrooms,
Yeah,
and you see,
that's what he
you, you,
says.
you see the craziness of
Yeah,
people in today's society.
yeah, yeah.
So like whatever. I really don't know.
All right. Um, let's start out with a focus on Hamas.
Okay, great. Yeah, let's jump into Hamas and give you a quick background
Yeah,
about.
yeah. Give us some background.
Right. So Hamas was actually started in 87, 1987. It's really an offshoot of the Egyptian, what we call Muslim Brotherhood. Okay.
Okay.
And of course, for the, Hamas it's really an acronym um, for should we call it? It's the Palestinian resistance or the Islamic resistance movement. That's what
H
Hamas
A M
really
HAMAS.
right.
Each stands for.
Um, it's Harakat, and then it's like I can't pronounce
That's
the
fine.
last
Yeah,
name,
yeah. We
but
get
it's
you. We know what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah, but it's Islamic resistance movement. All right,
Okay. All right.
so that right, it was founded by Ahmed Yassin Sheikh, right, who was a Palestinian cleric,
Okay.
who actually is part of the Muslim Brotherhood.
And he's the recognized
You still
founder
there?
of Hamas. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. So, right. So from there, they the biggest obstacle was the Fatah party, as
Okay.
everyone knows, right?
Yeah. And Fatah
And
had been in power in the Palestinian regions, Palestinian areas of the region for
yes,
decades.
so that's like right for West Bank
Right.
and Gaza, right? So that was like the PLO. So
Right.
Fatah was actually like many groups rolled into one, and like PLO was one of them, but they used the Fatah as the group
Like an
itself, right?
umbrella.
So the whole thing about it is exactly, exactly. So the whole thing about it is remember I used to tell your audience about how community support is so important.
Oh yeah.
This is this is a prime example. You see, the Fatah party was corrupt and didn't give two cares about the people in Gaza or the West Bank. You see, they take the money and stuff their pockets with it and buy places in UAE and go have fun, right? So they weren't concerned about that, right?
We see that all the time in all kinds of so many countries. We see this in.
Right. So here comes Hamas, right? And what do? They come in with the social programs. Okay. So with the social programs, they would um for schools, they would build schools for the kids in Gaza. And they would
Doing
right,
what the government's not doing.
exactly. You see, they would give the people jobs. Give the people if people came in, hey, you know what, we can give you food. You don't have food, we'll give you food. If you don't have medical, you know what, we'll bring a doctor in, help you out. All the stuff Fatah didn't do, they did. You see, and they got that community support.
Winning the hearts and minds.
There you go. There you go. Right. So when it comes like 2006, when it comes times for election, they throw their hat in the ring and they win. Right. And they beat Fatah. Right. And I remember I'll never forget calling Alicia. I said yeah, she's like, but we don't want Fatah. Or no, she's like, we don't want Hamas. We want Fatah to win, right? Because Fatah they were more or less on the lines of diplomacy and talking things through, right? There's a secular government.
Right.
Now you're
As
dealing
as
with
long as
Hamas,
the aid as long
which
as
is
the aid keeps coming in,
right. You
so they
see,
can keep
now
lining their
Hamas,
pockets. Right.
exactly. Now Hamas, on the other hand, was really for the people, okay, and really fighting against Israel. You see,
Yeah.
so once they started launching attacks, um, that's when the United States designated them as a foreign terrorist organization. Okay, and that's when the aid stopped coming from them for them.
Right.
But prior to that, my understanding is that Saudi was helping fund them, along with Qatar and other private donors throughout the Gulf states and in the Middle East. So that's how they were end up getting their money.
And I personally, I'm not going to be surprised if we learn that the Saudis, that the UAE, that Bahrain, Qatar, um,
Hmm.
all end up lining up on the side of bricks, if you will, in the big picture when it's all said and done, and
Right,
lining up with the Palestinians when this finally does eventually go boom.
right. So as you know, like the EU and United States designated Hamas as a foreign terrorist organization, but the United Nations didn't do that. They
Right.
recognized them as the legitimate government of Gaza
The
because
duly elected government of Gaza.
exactly. So you have to remember now there's the political wing of Hamas and the military wing of Hamas.
Okay.
There's two offices, right? One
Right.
office, the political office is in Qatar,
Qatar.
and the military branch or the military side is in Gaza City.
Mhm.
You see, so that's why all those attacks, of course, come out of Gaza City for Israel, right? So
Mhm.
all the political movements and all the big political moves are done right there and passed over um, to Gaza City. You see, to their headquarters, and that's how all that stuff works. So now you have Hamas, that's a so-called designated foreign terrorist organization by the United States. All right, and the money, of course, that was going to Fatah is no longer coming to that area
Right.
anymore, right? So the
Yeah.
United States, I'm pretty sure, gave that money to Israel, right?
Mhm.
And remember, I told you how economics controls everything.
Yeah.
We always have this discussion, right? How
Mhm.
economics controls everything. You
It's
talk
always
about how
about
much
the money.
money, right? We talked about how much money the United States gives uh, Israel monthly. You said it's like billions,
Yeah.
right? Think about how much the United States, of course, now because it's a foreign terrorist organization, Hamas doesn't get any money at all from the United States. They have to get their money from somewhere else. You see, so there's that the whole economic aspect of it too. You see, it's not just the whole all right, the whole terrorism thing, and we're there to uproot Israel, right? Because honestly, historically, and I've told you this before, Israel is trying to get rid of the Palestinians.
Right.
You see, so it works on a two-way street. Um, the Israelis or the Israeli government is trying to get rid of the Palestinians, which means they're going to get rid of Hamas, right? And
Mhm.
Hamas, in return, wants to get rid of the Zionists in Israel. See, so it's lost connection. Are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here. You're still coming
Okay,
through.
yeah, because yeah, okay, great. So that's the whole thing, right? So
Okay.
now um, so now
Cr-
you have to be good.
Can 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 Hamas be eliminated, or is it such a situation that every time one Hamas um, soldier is killed, two replacements are created
All right,
in the
so
Muslim world?
so here's the thing: you can never really eliminate Hamas because it's also an ideology, right?
Hmm.
So what they're really saying is, well, if we're gonna eliminate Hamas, we're gonna eliminate the Palestinians. Period.
Yeah.
You see,
And then it becomes not only Palestinians, but uh, I mean, where do you draw the line if you're Israel?
and once again, this goes back to Zionist ideology of the Jewish state. You see how this is all intertwined. Well, it's not intertwined. It's just a continuation
Right.
of what it's always been.
Right.
You see,
Hmm.
they've always wanted to get rid of the Palestinian people. Okay, well, here's your chance. Well, we're gonna get rid of Hamas. Well, you can't get rid of Hamas unless you get rid of the Palestinian people, and that's where
Okay.
this is going.
All right. Um, is all the talk from America, all the anti-Iranian talk that's been coming out, is all of that a primer? Is all of that conditioning us to um, accept an attack and a war with Iran?
All right, so here's the thing: you have to remember that Russia is also allies with Iran.
Hmm.
So think about it like this: if we attack Iran, do you really think Russia's going to allow that to occur?
Me personally, no.
Right, right. Russia's not going to allow that to occur, and they're going to be like, okay, well, you're coming at the United States. The United States is coming at Iran. Well, we're going to come at the United States, and we're going to come at Israel too. You see,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
how it.
I can easily see that happening. But
So
I'm also hearing that the only way to defeat Hamas is to cut off the head of the snake being Iran.
Yeah, that's ridiculous because that's ridiculous for the simple fact that they were getting money from Qatar way before they were getting money from Iran. That's ridiculous.
I'm just telling you that's what's going to
Right,
be coming out
right,
over the next few days. That's the rumblings I'm hearing out of the political
right.
end
So,
of it.
but that that's just the United States just wanting to hit. That's the United States just wanting to hit Iran. That's
Yeah,
what they want to do.
yeah, yeah.
You know. So
That's what I think too.
right. So that's
But
just
I see it as incredibly dangerous to do and stupid to do because it automatically it brings Russia in almost unquestionably. It brings us in direct conflict with Russia.
exactly, and we don't want that.
No,
You see, we don't want
or at
that at
least
all
I
because
don't.
well, okay, we don't want that. Maybe
Yeah,
some other people in government
right.
do want,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So the whole thing about it is the way that I'm reading this is they're just trying to connect Iran with Hamas, and yeah, there's some connection, but yeah, but like I said, they were getting money from Qatar prior to,
And I
like,
still think they're getting money from those other countries.
of course they are,
It's not just Iran. It just so happens that those other countries have been more friendly to us than Iran has.
right, right, and honestly, Iran is what we call a latecomer to the game. Okay,
Mhm.
so I think now they're starting to put a little bit of pressure on Qatar because the political headquarters of Hamas is in Qatar. All right. So
Mhm.
they really want to get Hamas up out of Qatar. And plus I think we have bases, military bases in Qatar as
We
well.
do. We do.
So, you know, it's like, or whose side are you on? Are you with
Yeah.
us?
Yeah.
Are you with them? Take it, you know. So, um, I don't know how long those bases have been there in Qatar, um, but I think Hamas has kind of been there longer than our bases. But then again, this is going to go back to the whole um, Islamic Muslim thing. You know, look, these are our brothers. I'm not going to put my brothers out over some military bases. It's like blood's thicker than water. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I
and
wanna I wanna go back just for a second to while it's on my head, go back just for a second to, um, a lot of people in the United States want to attack Iran, especially in the political realm, because there is a whole lot of heat on a whole lot of people in the political realm, and us being involved in a war will remove a lot of that heat, and a lot of those people are that self-serving that that's how they are looking at things. And I just want to toss that out there from the political point of it, government
yeah,
point of it.
yeah, that's always someone's interest. You
Yeah.
see,
Yeah.
and what I think they want to do is they want to kind of install a democratic government back into Iran, which was already there. And of course, we overthrew that
Yeah.
with Mossadegh, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We overthrew that,
Yeah.
and once
Put the
again,
Shah back in.
right, and that was a disaster,
Yeah.
right? So it's like we end up screwing ourselves because we don't think long term.
And I think that's what we're going to do
They
here. We're provoking Iran, trying to provoke them to attack us, so we've got an excuse to do whatever we want with them. And I think that it's being incredibly short-sighted, and they're going to open a Pandora's box that can't be closed.
exactly. So I'm glad you brought that up. About the Iraqis, the militant groups, the militias
Mhm. Mhm.
attacking the bases
Yeah.
in Syria and Iraq.
Mhm.
Um, I'm getting word that this Marine general was coming out and saying about the Marine Expeditionary Unit. It's called a
Right.
MU. He was saying that if those guys go in, it's hands off. But if you hit them, okay, this allegedly what the general said. He's like, someone else will be raising your children, right? So
That sounds like a Marine Corps general.
right, so the whole thing about it is you have to understand the whole psychology behind Muslims, and I sit there and tell you that once again they they're not afraid to die. Okay, here in the United States we cling on to life, where over there they believe in death and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
So for him to make that statement, I'm like, whoa, now because if you were to sit there and say that to me, I'm gonna test you.
Yeah.
What you're gonna do,
Yeah.
you see? And now you gotta be able to back this up. You put it out there. Now if we
Yeah.
come in,
You have. We have.
now you gotta back it up. And if you don't back it up, because that ultimately has to come from the president of the United States to do something like that. See?
And our bases are in convenient locations. They're in locations not necessarily to provide any protection or cover for populations. They are near oil fields.
Right. So what I'm gathering right now is Syria has told the United States, "Hey, get out. You're not supposed to be here anyway."
They have.
You know.
Yeah.
So once again, hey, we want you out of here. You ain't supposed to be here. If you get attacked, that's on you. You're
Yeah.
you're persona non grata here in this country.
Yeah.
Wherever you get, you get. So um, that's where this is going.
Um, do you still think Israel will launch a ground offensive?
I'm not so sure
It's been
right
a
now.
long time.
This has been going on for it's been a while, and I think the United States is trying to dissuade them from even doing that because I don't think they have
Yeah,
a
they
long
are.
term strategy. And the thing about it is the strategy behind it. I don't think the United States really understands. Like, well, you don't have a long term strategy. Well, the long term strategy is to eradicate the Palestinians. That's their end state. You see, that's Israelis' end state.
And that's for
They're in,
real from the Israelis, and I don't think we grasp that yet, that's
yeah, yeah.
really what I think Americans were like, "Okay, yeah, you say that, that's just talk, but what are you really trying to accomplish?" And
No, that
they
they
keep
really
telling
mean it.
us, "We want to eliminate."
The Palestinians, and they're totally serious. You
And
see,
and in Israelis' eyes, the Palestinians, elected Palestinians, are as responsible for the attacks as the soldiers carrying them out.
that it, to a certain extent, that's very true. Because I mean, from my understanding, that the community really does support Hamas. You know, but even with that, you can't hold everyone accountable because what they're really doing is group punishment.
Yeah, yeah,
You can't. Um, it's going to be hard to target all the Hamas people, right? All the Hamas militants. But when you start targeting like their infrastructure, and you're telling these people, a lot of these people are innocent, and you're just mowing these people down. You're blowing them up, whatever. That right there is telling me, all right, man, you're not concerned about civilian casualties. You want to eliminate these people. Period. That's your end state. Okay, they're not concerned about the Palestinian people. They're getting rid of them. Period.
yeah. That's the Israeli view.
Right. So and of course the United States. Well, like you said, well, that's not exactly what they mean. That's exactly what they mean,
I
and they're
know.
gonna and they're gonna carry it out. And there's nothing the United States can do. You see?
As the closer, we're constantly saying we have Israel's back. We're aligned with Israel. We're whatever. Um, at what point does that become a potential anchor to America, if it does?
Barry, you started to break up. Could you repeat the question, please?
Okay. The United States is constantly saying that we are aligned with Israel, that there's unquestionable allegiance with Israel. Uh, no way we would break our allegiance with Israel. Is there a point where that becomes an anchor to the United States, and and I guess the easiest way to say it is we find out we picked the wrong side.
There is no wrong side for the United States. They picked the right side. They're going to support Israel 110%. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So for us, there is no wrong side. Israel
gotcha.
is the right side.
All right,
So
okay, yeah, and
so
we will see that reflected in our mass media and in a lot of speeches, I would assume.
right. If you haven't like noticed that, um, I listen to all the news stations to
Hmm.
get an idea
Yeah,
of the sentiment,
right.
and everything is pro-Israel.
Hmm.
Okay, everything is pro-Israel. The only and I have to look at other foreign newspapers, right, to get the
Hmm.
sentiments from other countries,
Right. To be
and
balanced, we have
right,
to do that.
right, and then also like I talked about Al Jazeera,
Yeah.
and they're more or less pro-Palestinian because of it's Al Jazeera, right?
Right.
So I have to
You
make
have
sure
to you
that
have to
balance
fil
it, balance,
you have to filter it all. You have to
right,
filter both sides.
right, exactly, and like I said, knowing the history behind this what's been going on since in the 30s, it gives you a different perspective of what you hear and see on the television on both sides. You see,
Right.
but
A prime example is the bombing of the mosque.
hmm
It got almost zero coverage in Western media. It
hmm
was extensively covered in the Muslim world.
right. Do you see
Yeah,
how we report what we want to report instead of
yeah,
reporting, hey, look, this is what's happening over here too. So you're showing your bias for you know one side
right.
instead of being objective. And that's why I thought, the media was about. I thought it was about being
Yeah,
objectivity, but it's obviously not. So
yeah.
um, it's our job to be objective.
Yeah, that's why we're here and doing what we're doing because we're trying to be objective about things and give people an alternative as far
Right,
as just information.
right. And the whole thing about it is like I said, if you know the history behind it,
It
you're not
helps.
gonna. Yeah, it's not like you're gonna be picking sides. A lot of the most of the people will actually remain neutral,
Yeah,
or
because you're
or
gonna find out there is no good guy, there is no bad guy. This has been going on so long.
right,
Everything that happens in that region is a retribution for something that has already happened.
exactly. So that's what people need to realize in all of this.
All right. You, as of now, you'll be available Friday night?
Yeah, right now,
Or
yeah, we're good to go. Friday's
all
good.
right. Okay. All right. Let me know if anything changes.
Okay, we'll
All
do.
right. Stay safe, brother.
All right, you too now.
All right. As always, a big thank you to Chris for coming on, for joining us tonight. A lot of information there, a lot of valuable stuff, and that's what we try to do. We try to show you things from both sides. We try to give you information we gather from both sides in any kind of conflict, but especially this, because what's going on in Israel has the potential to ignite the world in a very rapid fashion. And hopefully that doesn't happen. It hasn't happened so far, and hopefully it doesn't. And we're gonna be on here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday talking about how things are progressing or how things are um, de-escalating. Hopefully, we're talking about how things are de-escalating and not how things are progressing towards an actual worldwide conflict, um, a hot war instead of a cold war. And with that, again, thank all of you for being on here. Thank all of you for clicking on. Uh, I know True was in the chat tonight. I know a lot of you, Guy was in the chat. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much. Everybody watching live, no matter what platform you're on, thank you for watching. A lot of places you could be, a lot of things you could watch, and you picked watching us, and we do thank you for that. We'll be back on Friday night at 9 p.m. with Chris again. Um, I may be on tomorrow, depending on if something significant happens. Otherwise, we will see you Friday night at 9 p.m. with Chris with another World Sit Rep. Until then, namaste, shalom, shalom, assalamu alaikum. Blessings be upon you from the Most High, the one true living God, if you so desire them. Positive vibrations, otherwise, peace. The world needs a lot more peace. Love you all like chocolate chip cookies, and I mean that. It's a dark world. Do try to be a light. You want to contact me, americandufus at gmail.com. And if you'd like to help support the show, $American Doofus at the Cash App. Thank you so much. I love you all. See you.